This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the speakers.
Welcome to Positively on the Spectrum, our podcast where we put a positive spin on life on the spectrum. Finding your village and navigating neurodiversity. We aren't experts, but we're in it together.
We sure are.
Yep. What to bring up as well was not responding to their name.
Yeah.
The both of mine were like that from day dot. Like,
Oh,
you,
really?
you could have. I remember with her, the health visitor went in and me saying, she won't respond to her name. And she's like, maybe it's her hearing. And I remember there was a packet of skips lying, and I picked the packet of skips up and I went like rattled it, and she snapped her head down. And it's like, nah,
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong
nothing
with her
to do with the hearing. No, not when it comes to snacks.
And
that's
then
for sure.
with my son, when I noticed he wasn't responding to his name, the first thing I done was get an appointment to get his ears checked, because I knew that was going to be one of the first conversations that the paediatrician or the health visitor would have had with me was, have you had his ears checked? I took him to get his ears checked, and there was nothing wrong. He reacted the way they expected him to react. Okay. I don't know if you've ever been for a hearing test, but they've got these boxes with stuffed toys in them.
Yeah.
And they like move, and they're actually quite creepy.
Yeah, so they are really creepy. I was just going to say that, but I thought I won't say anything.
Yeah, they make a noise, like the box lights up and makes a noise, and they're supposed to turn and react to it, and it frightened the shite out of him. So that is a big one, was the not responding to their name.
Yeah, and obviously eye contact as well. But eye contact, I think, is quite a controversial one because people say it is and it isn't. And for a long time, professionals would completely discount autism if a child could make eye contact, which is so wrong. But for such a long time, it was a very clear indicator that a child had autism, whereas now it's not so much because, I mean, you've only got to look at my two for starters. I mean, my youngest, she doesn't have a diagnosis as yet, but that's just because we're on a waiting list. It's just a matter of time. So, and she's always been very affectionate, eye contact, answered to her name, everything. It's the emotional regulation and hyperfixation and that kind of thing that fall's not the right word, that will categorize her as being autistic, essentially. So I think it does kind of get people's backs up sometimes, because especially if they've got older children that have been through this journey prior to us coming into it, eye contact was a big one. They say, no, it's fine. They can make eye contact, they can answer their name, they're not autistic. And then they weren't given the support that they needed.
Yeah.
So I think
they've learned over the years that that's
yeah,
the case.
Absolutely. And they're now looking more at stimming and shared attention and play and imaginative play and that kind of thing.
Which got me as well, because I remember at the assessment appointment, them giving me, not me, giving her, I think it was a car. And then I remember speaking about it after the assessment, going over how the assessment had went, and they'd said they were hoping that she was going to use imaginative play and she would have picked the car up and used it as a phone or something else rather than a car. And I'm like, she would never do that because she knows it's a car.
Yeah.
Like, she's very matter of fact, and if you say something, it is.
Yeah.
So that kind of struck me as weird. Because I would say it's an autistic thing as well. Like, if you say that's what it is, then that's what it is, and you don't deviate from it. And she really struggled in mainstream school, because if kids didn't follow the rules, like most kids don't, she was very much of like, the teacher said we must do this, so we must do this. Why is he not doing that, and why is he not listening, and why is she doing that? And she would get herself like into a fluster, because it like, rules are rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of found that a bit, whereas I would say my son is more imaginative play. I've seen him taking two different things and putting them together as if they're having wee conversations.
Oh my God, that's so and because again, like, I mean, even in our name, it is a spectrum, and a spectrum is not linear. So we're raised to put our faith in professionals, but they can only do what they can do with the knowledge that they have, I think, and it's constantly evolving. which is so important. But it also is why it's so important to advocate for your own child. Like, you are the expert in your child, and what you see on a daily basis is tenfold what they see in a 45 minute assessment. So I think it's really important to not take no, and to not take that ever. Whereas people would say, oh, well, she picked up a car and it didn't use it for something else. Well, no, because that's not typically, like, there is no typically. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm kind of going around in circles, but I think there is no typically autistic. Child is autistic. Their behaviors make them autistic.
Right.
So your child behaves the way that they do, and my child behaves the way that they do, but they're both still autistic.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't discount it. Oh, I'm really rambling.
No, I get it. I get what you're trying to say, and that's the thing, is there is no like
guidebook for starters. There's no
like it's a tick box exercise, I suppose, to a certain point, but it shouldn't be.
I suppose there has to be something.
That is the biggest thing you get, is no two autistic kids are the same, or two autistic people are the same.
Yeah.
So how do you then diagnose?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And I thought that as well. I mean, I was a bit in denial when we got my daughter's diagnosis, and when they told me, I was like, really? And I was like, so how did she mark? Like, was she just over? Because from what I took from it was like a kind of mark thing.
Like
so
if
she got over a certain amount, then that classed her as autistic. And they were like, no, she clearly went over it. And I was like, really? Really? Whereas with him, I just know that I'd be very, very shocked, put it this way, if they come back and say they were unsure if they needed another 6 months or whether he wasn't. I'd be really, really shocked. Going by how I know they used to diagnose, obviously it might have changed because that was 8 years ago.
Right. Yeah. It sounds very similar because we didn't have our diagnosis that long ago. However, things do change constantly.
And it's not just that appointment as well. Obviously they take the nurseries and the health visitors, and they take all of that into consideration, and obviously there's appointments before you get anywhere even near a diagnosis appointment, where they initially see you and go through the
diagnosis appointment. Yes, it's an assessment, but sometimes I think it's just a formality, because it really is just about it being on that day, reconfirming everything that all the professionals already suspect, and then putting it into a report and a diagnosis.
And I would say,
in my experience,
and I would say yes for my son and no for my daughter.
Right. Okay.
Just going by my experience with her. That's not a way I went into it.
Right. Okay.
No, I mean, I wasn't. Whereas with him, we're all singing for the same hymn sheet.
Yeah.
Maybe I just didn't know what their hymn sheets were at that point.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? And I just wasn't clued up on what they were saying, or maybe I wasn't taking it in. I don't know. But I didn't feel as confident or as prepared when I went into that appointment, and was unsure of what it was going to, look like and how it was going to be done. And I was a bit kind of bewildered with the outcome. And then also, it's also just like, there's your diagnosis. See you later.
See you later.
And I was like, what happens now? And she's like, nothing. If you need us, you know where we are. And I'm like, right.
It's not, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because there's no treatment. It's not like you get diagnosed with an illness and then there is a treatment plan and you go from there.
But it's also a life-changing diagnosis, so you would feel that there would be some kind of backup or support group. But then that's where you come and you find people like us. And you get
absolutely.
Village.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why we do what we do, because that's our experiences.
Yes, and it's something we needed ourselves, so we went out
and I must say, 8 years ago, whenever that was my journey, I did fall in with a group of people who were fantastic, especially one person in particular. She was brilliant, and she really, took me under her wing, and she'd already been there, and she done amazing things for the community, and I really owe a lot to her for helping me through those early days.
Yeah. I think it makes such a difference when you have got someone that we've had a bit of feedback from the last episode in regards to sort of finding your village and that kind of thing. And it's hard because there are a lot of people out there, and I think we're quite lucky because we do live in a smallish place. We don't live in a big city, so it is a little bit easier to try and get together and to try and build that community. But I think there's a big online community out there, which is great, but there's not such a big physical community. I think in my mind, I wanted to kind of bridge that gap a little bit and with the podcast, because you can sort of see our faces, you can interact with us, we can talk about things, but we are still online. There, it's really exciting. We're really enjoying it, and we hope you guys are too. We encourage every type and all engagement. And if there's anything you want us to chat about, again, you can find us on Instagram, Positively on the Spectrum, and DMs are always open. Please, if you want to reach out, please do, or even if you've got a question or anything, yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And you can comment below on YouTube as well.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.